Do you remember that Energizer phone from a couple of years ago? Yeah, the one with a 50-day battery. What happened to that? Well, as it turned out, after the project was launched on Indiegogo, they failed spectacularly. You see, they wanted £900,000. In the end, £8,200. 15 backers. But why? It was a really cool concept. After all, phones nowadays only have 5,000 milliamp hours. So maybe 1 to 2 days on one charge. So what was so wrong with this 18,000 milliamp hour phone that claimed to have 50-day battery? Well, it all comes down to this. Cool phones fail. So today I will go over why would companies make a crazy phone, the issues with these phones, why does nobody buy these phones, and some of the companies that actually succeeded. So, why on earth would a company even make a crazy phone? Well, to be honest, the smartphone market is hard. If any normal company wanted to make a smartphone, they would need a lot. They need to invest in R&D, design, employees, and convince manufacturers to work with them. And that's just the production of the phone. They also need to market it, ship it, which pretty much just means that the smartphone market is such a hard economy to enter. So yeah, it's a big risk to make a phone, and if it doesn't succeed, it's likely game over for you. So, to counteract this, many companies will have that one let's make something crazy moment. The moment that will hopefully give them all the press coverage they need to make a successful smartphone. And there have been many examples of this. With the red hydrogen one from 2018, it had a holographic display, but as you might be able to remember, this was a complete failure. But it wasn't the concept's fault. I think it would be quite cool to have a holographic display on a phone now. But it all failed because Red measured everything wrong. Sure, it had the gimmick of a holographic display, a catchy tagline, holographic media machine, and a huge battery at the time at 4,500 milliamp hours. But everything else was, well, not very good. They used a year-old processor at the time, which normally wouldn't have been too bad, but this was a nearly $1,300 phone. And don't forget, not even Apple or Samsung had hit this price point yet. So this meant that the phone was pretty much dead on arrival. But even when a company makes a cool but still solid phone, it still fails. And why is that? Well, the customers. You see, a new and experimental phone will always be a hard sell. People don't want to risk buying a phone that they'll regret. All because phones are getting really expensive, especially for that red phone, and a lot of people can't afford that risk. And they want the phone to last. Today, phones are lasting 5 years, even more sometimes. But that's just not going to happen with a new company. For example, an issue that the Nothing company faced when they released the Phone 1 was software support. The Phone 1 is already dead. It is not receiving Nothing OS 4.0, despite only being released in 2022. And back to the Red Hydrogen 1, that only received 2 years of updates, with Red shutting the project down in late 2020. But wait a minute, why do all these small companies have to make the phones? What about Samsung, Xiaomi, Apple? Well, Apple is obvious, they're Apple. But Samsung and Xiaomi sometimes make cool phones. Don't forget, Samsung released the first ever folding phone. That's pretty cool if you ask me. But if companies do this, they will normally do it this way. Take Xiaomi for example. Say they create some magical battery technology that can last days on a one charge, while still being thinner, lighter and way better than before. They will have 3 choices. Option A. Hold back and perfect it, but risk another company perfecting it before you, and them stealing all your attention. Option B. Release it right away, but if there is a problem, risk damaging your brand's identity and reputation. Or option C. Launch it under a sub-brand like Poco or Redmi. That way, if it works, Xiaomi still profits. But if it fails, the damage won't normally go up to the main brand. So option C might seem like the smartest idea for a company, but for the press coverage, option C is often the worst. And sometimes innovations just go unnoticed. Then Xiaomi assumes that nobody cares and stop investing in it. And the idea just quietly disappears. Until another big company tries again and fails the same way. Then the cycle continues. And all of this means that making a cool smartphone is really difficult for both the big companies and the small ones. But it's not all just a graveyard, because there have been two companies that have succeeded to enter the smartphone market. First is OnePlus, created by Carl Pei and Pete Lau in 2014. This company released the OnePlus One, but this phone is different to all the others we've seen today, all because it wasn't different. Instead of having one gimmick that they put way too much effort into, OnePlus just made a really good, well-rounded phone. And sure, it's a shame to know that OnePlus could only succeed without that let's make something crazy moment. But it is great to know that it's likely that that one decision saved OnePlus's phone, and the company as a whole. Second is Nothing, also founded by the same Carl Pei. They first made their mark with the Ear One, showing their transparent design style. But then, a few years later, when they released the Phone One, they did actually add something that truly set themselves apart from the rest of the competition: the glyph interface. Unlike most gimmicks, the glyph wasn't just for show though. It gave the phone both a unique identity and a practical use, letting you see when you have notifications, charging progress, or even a timer without having to turn the phone over onto the front. And when this was mixed with really solid hardware as well, great software, it meant that the Phone One stood out without relying on cool for the sake of cool. So pretty much, moral of the story, cool gets clicks, but not customers. Anyway, thanks for watching, I hope you did enjoy, and if you did, I'd greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe.